Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Deep Dive. I'm Lex,
And I'm Vera.
and we are here to help you cut through the noise and get to the heart of the matter.
That's right.
Especially for all you business owners and C-level execs out
Yeah.
there, tackling those tough decisions every day.
Absolutely.
So today we are diving deep into a topic that is absolutely crucial for any organization that wants to thrive.
Yeah,
And that's the challenges that women face in reaching leadership positions.
that's a big one.
It is a big one, and you might be thinking like, haven't we kind of moved past this whole glass ceiling thing?
Right.
But as we dug into the research that you sent over,
Yeah.
we've got All Notes 1-3-2025,
Mm-hmm.
the Harvard Business Review collection on women and leadership, plus excerpts from books like Women in the Vision Thing and Women Rising.
So much good stuff.
It became clear that it's not so simple.
No.
It's less like hitting a single barrier and more like navigating a whole labyrinth.
A labyrinth. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's a really great way to visualize it. We're talking about obstacles that pop up at every stage of a woman's career.
Okay.
Think lingering prejudice, pushback against women leading, different leadership styles, and then the ever-present juggle of family demands.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's break down this labyrinth a little bit.
Okay.
Alice Eagley and Linda Carley, in their piece on the Labyrinth of Leadership,
Mhm.
they point to 4 main areas where these obstacles kind of crop up.
Okay.
What really struck me was this idea of second-generation gender bias.
Oh, yeah.
That's like discrimination has evolved to become sneakier,
Yes.
hiding in plain sight
You're playing set.
within our everyday practices and assumptions.
Absolutely. And it's subtle, but the impact is huge.
Yeah.
Imagine you're a business owner.
Right.
You want the best person for the job, right?
Of course.
But what if your hiring process, without you even realizing it, favors people who fit a traditionally masculine mold?
Yeah.
You're potentially missing out on some serious talent.
Yeah,
And that directly affects your bottom line.
absolutely. And it doesn't just stop at hiring either.
Yeah. No, it does not.
This bias creeps into performance reviews, promotions, even how women are perceived when they assert themselves.
Ugh. It's like they're constantly under pressure to downplay their ambitions so they don't come across as too pushy or, whatever the stereotype is.
Yeah, it's a classic double bind,
Yeah,
right?
yes.
You're told to lean in, but then you're criticized for being too aggressive or self-promoting.
Exactly.
It's no wonder that so many women feel like they're walking a tightrope.
Absolutely. And there's actually a book called Do Women Lack Ambition by Anna Fells that dives into this,
Yeah.
Challenging that very question and exploring the societal messages that can make it tough for women to really own their ambition.
I get that. I even see that a lot in marketing.
Yeah.
Women are told to be confident and, go for it, but then if they don't soften their approach, they get labeled as difficult.
It really highlights the tension between what are called communal versus agentic traits.
Okay.
Women are often expected to be nurturing, collaborative, sensitive, which are all fantastic qualities.
Right.
But these don't always line up with the traditional image of a decisive, take-charge leader.
So if a woman exhibits those more agentic traits,
Right.
taking initiative, being assertive,
Mm-hmm.
she risks being seen as too aggressive or worse, unlikable.
Exactly. And this starts early, believe it or not.
Wow.
There's this study, the 1968 Goldberg paradigm,
Yeah.
where identical essays were judged differently just based on the perceived gender of the author.
Really?
So think about it. The same words, different reactions.
Wow.
That shows how deep-seated this bias is.
That is wild. It makes you think about all the subtle messages that we send, consciously and unconsciously,
Right.
that just reinforce these stereotypes.
Totally.
If we want workplaces that are truly inclusive,
Yes.
we need to be aware of these biases and actively challenge them.
Absolutely. One place this plays out is in leadership styles.
Okay.
Research suggests women tend to be more transformational leaders,
Interesting.
which is a style generally considered highly effective in today's fast-paced business world.
So transformational leaders inspire and motivate their teams
Yes.
toward a common goal.
Exactly.
It's about building relationships,
Yeah.
empowering others, and creating a culture of innovation.
Yes.
And the research indicates that women often excel in these areas.
They do. And it makes sense when you consider that, for generations, women have had to be incredibly skilled at navigating complex social dynamics,
Right.
building consensus, influencing others without relying on those traditional displays of authority.
Yeah,
Those are valuable skills for any leader.
absolutely.
Yeah.
But there's this vision gap that keeps popping up
Oh, the vision gap. Yes.
in research and executive assessments.
Yes.
What's the deal with that?
Well, it's a critical point because to break through to the top leadership positions,
Yeah.
women need to be seen as visionary.
Right.
But this so-called vision gap might not be about a lack of ability, but a difference in how vision is perceived and
Yeah.
even valued.
So you're saying women might be just as good at seeing the big picture and setting a strategic direction, but they might do it differently or even downplay it
Yes,
because they don't see it as the most important aspect of leadership.
precisely. Research suggests women may be more collaborative in how they develop their vision.
Okay.
Incorporating input from their teams and presenting it as a shared vision rather than just their own.
That makes sense, especially when you consider the pressure women face to be seen as competent and reliable.
Yes.
If you're already battling this presumption of incompetence,
Yeah.
you're probably less likely to take big risks.
Right.
That could backfire and confirm those negative stereotypes.
Totally.
It's like they're being judged on a different scale.
Absolutely. It's a delicate balancing act.
Yeah.
As leaders, we need to ask ourselves,
Yeah.
are we creating environments where women feel safe to take those leaps, to voice bold ideas without fear of judgment or penalty?
That's a powerful question that I think every organization should be asking.
Absolutely. And another piece of this puzzle is the importance of social capital, which brings us back to those family demands we mentioned earlier.
Right.
It's no secret that women often carry the heavier load of caregiving,
Yeah.
which can limit their time for networking and building those crucial relationships that can open doors to leadership opportunities.
This is something I see even in digital marketing.
Yeah.
Those informal gatherings after a conference, the late-night brainstorming sessions,
Yes.
that's where connections are made. Deals are struck and careers advance.
Totally.
If women are consistently missing out on those opportunities because they're rushing home to relieve the babysitter
Right.
or care for a family member, it's bound to impact their career trajectory.
It highlights the need for organizations to create more equitable systems that support working parents regardless of gender.
Absolutely.
Things like flexible work arrangements, on-site childcare, parental leave policies that encourage men to take time off. These are all critical. And let's not forget about mentorship and sponsorship. Having someone in your corner who can advocate for you, open doors to new opportunities, and guide you through those tricky leadership transitions that can make all the difference.
Yeah, absolutely. We were also really intrigued by this book. You included The Power of Talk. It's not just about communication in general, right?
Right.
Deborah Tannen, a renowned linguist,
Yeah.
she really digs into how the differences between men's and women's communication styles
Yes.
can have a huge impact on how they're perceived in the workplace.
It's fascinating, isn't it?
It is.
It's not just what we say,
Right.
but how we say it.
Yeah.
Think about how girls are often raised to be more indirect, to kind of hedge their statements or downplay their accomplishments. In some cultures, it's even seen as boastful or unfeminine for women to talk themselves up.
Right.
But in a business setting, that can really backfire.
So if a woman isn't comfortable advocating for herself, her ideas, her contributions,
Yeah.
it's going to be that much harder for her to get the recognition and opportunities she deserves.
Exactly. And it's not that women lack confidence or competence,
Right.
but their communication style might be misinterpreted as a lack of confidence.
And that can be a killer
Oh, absolutely.
in the business world.
It's a real catch-22.
Yeah, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. And I think this gets even more complex when you look at how those subtle differences in communication styles can even affect how people take turns in conversations.
Oh, interesting. Tell me more about that.
Well, just think about it.
Yeah.
Even tiny pauses, those micro moments of silence in a conversation can be interpreted differently based on gender and cultural background.
Right. Like if you're in a meeting and there's a slight pause after someone finishes speaking.
Exactly.
A man might jump right in, seeing that as his cue to take the floor, while a woman might hesitate, waiting for a clearer invitation to speak.
Exactly. And that hesitation, even if it's just a fraction of a second, can be perceived as uncertainty or a lack of preparedness.
Wow.
Over time, those tiny moments can add up,
Yes.
creating a dynamic where men's voices are heard more often and their ideas are given more weight.
It's like those unconscious biases we talked about earlier,
Right.
woven into the very fabric of our communication patterns.
It makes you wonder how much we're all missing out on
Yeah.
because of these really subtle dynamics.
And that's where self-awareness is so important.
Yeah.
We need to be mindful of our own communication styles, but also sensitive to the styles of others.
It's about creating that space for everyone to feel comfortable sharing their ideas,
Exactly.
regardless of their gender or background.
Yes.
And that starts with being a good listener.
Absolutely. And being willing to challenge those traditional notions of what a leader sounds like.
Right.
Maybe a leader isn't always the loudest voice in the room.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the person who asks insightful questions,
Mm.
who listens carefully, builds consensus, and empowers their team to shine.
That reminds me of what we were discussing earlier about transformational leadership.
Yeah.
It's not about commanding attention,
Right.
but about inspiring and motivating others to achieve a shared goal.
Yes.
Which, by the way, takes us back to that ambition
Yeah.
question. It seems like women are constantly navigating this tension between their own ambition
Yeah.
and those traditional expectations of what it means to be feminine.
That's such a crucial point. And in her book, Do Women Lack Ambition?
Mm-hmm.
Anna Fels addresses this head on.
When I first saw that title, I have to admit, I was a little defensive.
Really?
Like, of course women have ambition.
Of course.
But as I read it, I
Yeah.
realized Fels is unpacking all these societal messages.
Yes.
You know, those subtle cues we receive from a young age. That can make it really tough for women to embrace and own their ambition.
It's a constant balancing act. And I think many women, myself included, have struggled with it at some point in their careers.
It's like you're constantly told, you can be successful, but don't be too successful.
Right.
You can be assertive, but don't be too assertive.
Yeah.
You can be ambitious, but don't forget to be nice, nurturing, and supportive.
It's exhausting.
It is. It really is. And it can undermine women's confidence,
Yes.
making them question their own abilities and even their right to pursue their goals.
You know, it's important to remember that women are just as driven as men.
Yeah.
It's not that they don't want recognition or success,
Right.
but they're often navigating a much more complex set of expectations.
So if they prioritize their careers, they risk being seen as selfish or neglectful.
Right.
But if they prioritize family,
Yeah.
they risk being seen as lacking ambition or commitment.
It's a no-win situation.
It is.
And it's something we need to be much more mindful of as a society.
Yeah.
You know, we need to celebrate women's ambition, encourage them to dream big, and create systems that support them in pursuing those dreams without having to sacrifice their personal lives.
It's about breaking down those outdated gender roles.
Yes.
And recognizing that ambition, drive, and a desire for success are not inherently masculine traits.
They're human traits.
Yeah.
And when we create environments where women feel safe to embrace their full potential without conforming to these narrow definitions of femininity,
Yeah.
we all benefit.
So we've covered a lot of ground here. The labyrinth, leadership, hidden biases, the power of talk,
Yeah, it's a long...
those conflicting expectations around ambition and leadership styles. It's a lot to take in.
Yeah.
But what I find encouraging is that there are concrete things organizations can do to address these issues.
Absolutely. It starts with simply acknowledging that these biases exist.
Right. It's not about blaming anyone,
No.
but about creating awareness so we
Yeah.
can start having honest conversations about how these subtle forms of discrimination are playing out in our workplaces.
And then, of course, it's about taking action.
Yeah.
We've talked about family-friendly policies that can help women balance caregiving responsibilities without derailing their careers.
Yeah.
Things like flexible work arrangements, generous parental leave policies that encourage men to take time off on-site childcare. These can make a huge difference.
And mentoring and sponsorship programs are crucial too.
Yeah. Having someone who can advocate for you, open doors, and guide you through those tricky leadership transitions is invaluable.
Even something as simple as being mindful of our communication styles,
Right.
ensuring everyone has a chance to speak up and be heard, can really shift the dynamics in a meeting.
And let's not forget the power of role models.
Yes.
When women see other women succeeding in leadership roles, it sends a powerful message that it is possible that those barriers can be broken.
Completely agree. It's about changing the narrative, challenging those outdated stereotypes, and creating a world where girls and women can dream big and pursue their ambitions without limits.
I love that. Speaking of dreaming big and pursuing ambition,
Yes.
I want to remind all our listeners, especially those business owners and C-level executives out there,
Yes.
that we at Shield Media are passionate about helping your businesses thrive in the digital world. We specialize in local SEO, PPC, and SMM with a focus on helping Western clients like you reach their target audiences and achieve their marketing goals. So if you're a business owner or C-level exec looking to boost your online presence, drive more traffic to your website, or increase brand awareness, we encourage you to reach out.
We'd love to connect and see how Shield Media can help you navigate the digital world and reach new heights of success.
And speaking of success, we can't wrap up without emphasizing that the future of leadership is inclusive, and we all have a role to play in making that a reality.
What are some final thoughts you want to leave our listeners with, Vera?
I think it's important to remember that progress takes time and it takes commitment. Change won't happen overnight, but each of us can make a difference in our own spheres of influence, whether it's challenging a biased comment, mentoring a talented woman in your organization, or simply being more aware of those subtle dynamics that can hold women back. Every action counts.
I love that small steps can lead to big changes. And on that note, we want to thank all of you for joining us on this deep dive into the complexities of women in leadership.
Remember to hit that follow button and share this episode with anyone who might benefit from these insights. We believe that knowledge is power, and we're so grateful to have you as part of our community.
Thanks again for listening, everyone. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep pushing those boundaries.